Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce presents the Bowie Business Journal, a program designed to keep our community informed about important business and economic issues.
Welcome to Bowie Business Journal. I'm John Rouse, your co-host. I'm here with my co-host, co-producer, Bert Oliver, the infamous. And we have a very interesting program for you today. And I will let Bert make the introductions. Over to you.
Thanks, John. And it's a beloved, infamous Bert Oliver, I might say.
I wouldn't say that.
We have Cindy Freeland with us today. And Cindy's been a guest on the Bowie Business Journal many times over the years, and since she's been accomplishing a lot, and she has someone to introduce very special, please, Cindy, introduce our other guest. Okay.
Our special guest today is Maria Lucia. She is the author of Liberation, and it's a wonderful book. It's a fantasy, and she's been working on it for a while, and it's book one of the Andrewsian Chronicles. Maria?
Hi. Hey, everybody. Hi, Cindy.
Glad to have you with us, Maria.
Thank you.
Well, why don't we have Maria start and just at least introduce your book title and name.
And sort of a synopsis.
Okay. You know, that's been a challenge to try to close everything down.
Well, it's fiction.
It's fiction, so it's huge, you know.
Right.
The name of the book is Liberation. Book one of the Andrewsian Chronicles. It's going to be a trilogy. It is a fantasy, very much in the order like Lord of the Rings or Narnia or something like that, which is, you know, huge worlds, fantasy worlds. I love fantasy. I loved it even before I attempted it myself. I'm one of these adults that goes to all the fantasy films and reads all the fantasy books, like the Harry Potters and the Avatars. And so I felt the story so deeply within me that I decided to go back to school and learn how to really do its service, the story that was generating inside me. And this was all recent in the last 5 years. And so anyway, so I put the story together. And
you put 2 books out in 5 years?
I put 2 books. One is not related to the Chronicles.
Oh, okay.
One is more of an educational book. This was before.
What on?
The first book?
Yeah.
The first book is like a personal growth and self-help.
Oh, okay.
And the second one was after that book, and I started feeling the story coming. And you know, as a writer yourself, that when you feel that stuff coming, you got to
rip.
You got to try to you know, put it down and make sense of it. So that's how it happened.
How long has it taken you to do this, from your planning and thinking to the actual delivery of the book?
It was really hard work. It took me 3 years of solid working. This is every day of dedicating myself to doing the best that I could in delivering this huge story that was intergalactic, you know, and all the way from outer space to here to 2010. So it was quite a challenge, and I did go back to school, and I had some really great teachers. I did it privately, and you know, there's some really powerful teachers out there, and they walked me through it, and they said, you can do this, and thanks to them, you know, I've done the first one of the 3.
Is this sort of Star Trekking them?
It has that in it. When I asked my editors what genre, you know, because it had the Lord of the Rings field, but it also had the galactic piece. And they said, no, this is a fantasy / it could go into science fiction, he said. But mainly it was, it's been offered as a fantasy with that bent, the science fiction bent to it. That was the difference between this Chronicles and the Lord of the Rings. It's, you know how Avatar has that? Yeah. It has that otherworldly. So the story was so big that fantasy was the genre that could take it in.
Yeah.
They could take it in.
I was actually at the spot where Lord of the Rings was filmed.
Unbelievable.
In
See,
New Zealand.
just the most beautiful scenery I've ever seen.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Just the most beautiful.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Of course, you know, that whole area.
It really
Very
is.
enchanting.
That's a good description.
If you were going to pick New Zealand and Scotland would be the enchanting.
Well, ironically, New Zealand is hugely Scottish in population.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it really is. What Scotland did was send all their crooks over there.
Oh.
That's how Australia was founded. Right. Can you just give us a few pictures of what's in the book, of what it's like, a tone?
So the tone would be, it's a story of 4 races from our galaxy, from the Milky Way,
okay.
who visit the Earth way before us.
Oh, okay.
And one of the races is a story of this race leaving something on the Earth that we today are discovering, and that possibly democracy was birthed from. And so because I was so moved when I first moved here by the profoundness of the old Washington, of the founders, of the current that we almost forget about here, but yet it's so here. I was so moved when I first moved here that it came into the book. So the book, it starts out in the galaxy from the 4 races, and then it comes into today's world, and the story takes place in Washington. It's about an intergalactic supernatural intelligence agency.
Wow.
That is protecting the United States.
Do they visit Bowie?
That's funny. Who knows?
Next book.
Knows? Yeah, really.
Well, I know some people in Bowie who could be from outer space.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Some close friends.
Yes.
That's for sure.
You know, really, I'll tell you, when I saw you're actually moving when you're talking about what is in the book, like you can visualize it. And I believe this is why I think a lot of people that read enjoy it so much and miss a lot of the written word today because there's so much other entertainment, television, and so forth.
Yeah.
That I really believe something's missing in a person's life if they're not a reader.
Oh, I agree.
And John reads a lot. I know he checks out 5 books a week from the library, probably.
7,
and
actually.
7, actually. But the point is, that's why that we were quite anxious to talk to you and introduce you here in Bowie, because I personally liked, and John does too, it's neat to see people that are doing something that can capture the attention of young people or others.
Absolutely.
Is this a sort of all-age book?
It is. I would gear it more towards 18 plus, 17 plus, and then us, us that love that kind of thing.
Is it in the stores?
You can get it anywhere.
Cool,
You
right.
can get it anywhere.
Barnes & Noble
At
and
Barnes & Noble's
Borders.
or Amazon. I just gifted our library some of them.
Oh, excellent.
Down here at Bowie, just
yesterday.
yesterday.
Good, I can check it out.
Yes, just yesterday. So.
You could give me a signed copy. One of the two.
I'd be glad to do that. I'd be glad to do that. You know, when you work this hard, you want to have people read it. I mean, that
Sure.
is why I work so hard on it. But yeah, I just put it in the libraries for that very reason. All I had to say was fantasy, and it was like,
Yeah.
because it's so fun. It's a fun world for those of us that like to.
Well, the world being what it is today, it's nice to escape it.
Exactly. And just take a break and a breather like we did in Avatar, and like we did in so many of the other good ones that have come.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm glad it's coming out of Bowie. I love telling people that it's coming from Bowie, that this book is definitely, even on the blog tour, it was like Bowie has birthed some strong stuff. And I heard that even when I first moved here. And I didn't know it was going to be me.
You've been here for about 10 years, I think.
Yes. And Maddie Stepanek, I've just gotten permission from his mother to put one of his poems in here. So I'm going to be restructuring the book. And
who was that?
Maddie Stepanek. Do you remember him?
No.
Maddie. was a beautiful little boy that lived to be 14 years old, and he was from this area.
Oh.
And his mother still lives here, and he became a very, very famous poet. And he visited Jimmy Carter at the White House.
Oh,
he was on Oprah. He was a very special young man. His poetry is very, very advanced.
Yeah.
Very.
Child prodigy.
Yes.
Didn't he write 4 books on poetry?
4 books on poetry. They're still
At 14?
At Barnes and Nobles.
Wow.
He lived to be 14. He had muscular dystrophy. Is it?
Oh my.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Very special young man. And so I felt really honored. His family lives very close to here. I don't know exactly where, but in the area. And to write her and say, you know, your son is such a special soul. You know, can I use this poem? And she was so gracious.
No, that's nice.
She immediately said yes, because the poem fits the fantasy, you know.
That's great.
So I just got that at it.
How did you first discover that? Did someone refer his poem to you, or you just knew it? Or how did you know that?
You know, I don't even know how that happened, but it happened a long time ago. One of my, there was a executive assistant that I had right before I met her that knew of Maddie. And she was the one that said, you know, this area seems to birth some powerful people. And of course, you know, I didn't know that. I had just moved here.
Yeah.
And she said, you've got to check this young man out. And of course, I didn't know anything. I went and got his poetry, and I just cried. You know, I said, this is a special young man.
That's interesting, yeah.
Isn't it heartstrings or something? Isn't that what he calls them all? Heartstrings, I believe.
But I mean, really powerful stuff. This is not, this is something that Jimmy Carter would read, and he would go, or Oprah, and just, I mean, they were at his funeral. I mean, it was like,
unbelievable. What a
just
story,
amazing. And from this area, right here.
Yeah, that's amazing.
If you could do that, it would be really neat to have, I know, in the book.
Well, his mother is still carrying on his work. I mean, she would be great and available. She's at the University of Maryland, and I believe, and she's still carrying on his work because he was a peacemaker. So he went all over the world speaking about peace. And
God,
anyway,
14 years old. That's
yes,
Yeah, amazing.
yes, he blew us all away.
Yeah, I'll bet.
He did. And he was my introduction to the Bowie area and his work. And anyway, she's still doing his work and has a website for him. It's called Maddie Online. And
I'm going to have to check into that.
Maddie Online, you will just get teary, you know, at
I can
his
look
power
into that.
at such a young, I mean, he was writing way before he died at 14. He was writing.
Yeah, I wonder how early, when he first
You know,
write,
it's
7 or 8, I thought I heard. He was really, really young when he started writing.
And his mother is a love. I don't know her personally, but I've read the websites and I see her work, and she also has the same challenge, physical challenge that her siblings did. It's just an amazing thing to watch these beings do so much good.
Oh, yes.
Well, you know, I'm so glad you thought of mention that, because it shows the creativity that you put about in your book, because when you're explaining his work, almost like coming alive, and I haven't read one.
Yeah, I know.
And you've got that touch, Maria, that no doubt you're doing well on your book tours, I imagine. Are you getting
the blog tours have been a real interesting experience. It was all new for me, and the bloggers, the book bloggers, are great people, and I didn't know them until now, and I have been all over the world with this tour, and have gotten, thank God, some wonderful reviews, which were very helpful for me to have the courage to keep going.
Yeah, that's great.
Sure.
You know, from young bloggers in their early 20s to...
Is our local media going to do a review then? Is this what the feature is about in the Bowie Star?
They're gonna do mainly about the author. Their attention is like...
That's what I mean, yeah, but they'll also
and a little
introduce
bit,
the book.
yes, they are.
Yeah,
They are.
good.